and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Today we're bringing you a Skyward Sword any percent tournament match. It is round 2. It is 64-bit Link versus Deesh, and I am joined today by KitKat on commentary. And how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. This is the Skyward Sword 80% tournament, round 2. 64-bit versus Deesh. I'm just going to talk a bit about Skyward Sword itself. It's a Zelda game, obviously. That was made in 2011. It's for the Nintendo Wii, so there are quite a bit of motion controls in this game, which some people see a positive, some people see a negative. It really depends. From a speedrunning standpoint, this game is it's now kind of one of the medium-sized races. It used to be a huge game because of stuff like, but now it's been cut short because of reverse bit magic. I believe we're off. I don't know if, yep, okay, we're off. This run should take about 3 hours, maybe a little bit less than that. But yeah, we'll see. So the first thing that you'll notice is that we're skipping cutscenes. If you've played the game before, you'll realize that this is impossible normally. That's because both runners are using hero mode file, which is unlocked after you've beaten the game, and this is completely legal because hero mode files are also just blank. As long as it's blank, it's completely fine. So I believe both of these runners are doing kind of the safer safe route, which is where you completely skip the ring ceremony cutscene. Skip. Ring ceremony cutscene skip. And I guess you kind of notice that both runners have different languages, and you'll notice that the Japanese is significantly faster. Most runners try to have a Japanese copy just because of how it's insanely fast the text speeds are. But as we see, like, some people don't actually run Japanese, so they're kind of at a disadvantage there. We did kind of try and consider there being a handicap, but we didn't really come to a conclusion in the tournament. There isn't really much to say about Skyloft, I guess, for the first 7 minutes. It's just going to be kind of us running around, doing stuff. Actually, there is quite a big glitch that's happening in the next, 1 or 2 minutes, which I will talk about when it comes up. But now it's kind of just boring stuff, just running around. I will talk about the movement, actually, because that's something I can say. You'll notice that the runners have a stamina meter that they've got to kind of be aware of. The fastest type of movement is rolling, but rolling uses a lot of stamina, so we try to use rolling when possible, but sometimes we just have to do normal sprinting. And I believe for every roll you do over sprinting, it saves about 1 frame per roll, so we try to do as much as possible as it adds up. But okay, so now here's kind of the complicated glitch I was talking about. So basically what the two runners, they've saved, so they have so they no longer have a blank hero mode file. They actually have something that they can use, because you'll see that we're going to enter the title screen later. First of all, in order to do this glitch, we have to die. Another thing about being on hero mode is that we have double damage, so we lose 2 hearts, which is kind of good. If you're kind of bad at managing your health, this can be a double-edged sword, but it should be okay. So what the runners are going to do, they're going to press continue and reset the console. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to continue, so you're going to play as Link. But as you reset the console, you're now on the title screen, so the game kind of does this. This is known as back in time, and it's pretty confusing. I'll try and explain as much as possible. But so you saw Deesh. What he's doing right now, he's making a corrupt file, and what you do about that is you just delete a file and you save it one of these bird statues. These bird statues are completely operational, which is very useful for specific glitches later on. And now you see on Deesh's end that he has now got a corrupt file, which means that all of the values, including his hearts, are set to 0. Which we only really need to activate this glitch itself, and this is kind of required in the safe route in order to kind of skip the wing ceremony cutscene skip. So the specific now back in time is by itself isn't very useful. But what we can do in back in time is incredibly useful. Hence why the game is 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and not like 6 hours. So what Deesh has done is that he collected the goddess sword and then he started the file at a specific time. And what that did is that put the because he got the goddess sword in back in time, and he started the file. That put the goddess sword on his file. Now you don't see it yet, but that's because he has to like do something like go into this cutscene in order for it to show. That technique he was doing is known as reverse bit magic, and that's kind of an easier one to understand. Like you do X thing in back in time, X thing appears on your file. That makes sense. We will have more confusing ways of reverse bit magic, which I will discuss later on. But yeah. So again, Deesh is the goddess sword. If you were doing the non-safe route, which is often used in PB attempts, you would just get the practice sword. You basically just do Skyward casually up until the wing ceremony. But because we want to skip that, or we want to skip the cutscene, skip to that, we kind of make sure a corrupt file is set up. And as we've done that, we might as well get the goddess. So I guess Deesh is kind of just making his way through this cave. I'm going to be honest, this cave is quite annoying from at least my perspective, because I can't do this cave right, but some people can. I think 64-bit, he's just got the goddess sword, so he's not horribly too far behind, but yeah, we'll see how this race goes. They're pretty, I guess, they're not that close matched. Deesh has got like a 238, 64-bit Link has got quite, he got quite a low time. So, but anything happened with Skyward Sword, it's really, you don't know. So anyway, so here's Zelda. So basically, kind of the lore of this is that your like kind of bird went missing, so you have to find your bird. And technically, we can like get our like green suit on and get everything completely fine. But the problem is that we can't actually leave because we can only leave Skyward when we have our bird. So then we have to kind of go all the way out of the way to actually get the Loftwing or the bird. I'll refer to him as the Loftwing because that's the correct term. But yeah. So here he is. You'll kind of see these kind of slash the these what are they called, like ropes to the gate. That's actually pretty hard to do, but with practice, it's not horrible. So yeah. Again, there isn't much to say right now. This is kind of like casual Skyward Sword. This run will get way more intense as it goes along. So I hope you're interested for that because it's like just nothing really interesting, and it's really hard to explain. So this is kind of, he's in the tutorial now, which is pretty much an auto-scroller in the sense you can't forward like time in it. We will be seeing this a lot in Back in Time in order to get to Farron in Back in Time, just because of like the specific like layer details, which I'll get into later. But yeah, also this is quite a long tutorial on English at least, because of like the text. So this is a kind of another example of like how 64-bit Link has an advantage. So I guess I don't think either of the runners are going for the cutscene skip, hence why they've kind of done the safe route. That's good, because the safe route is very good for a race because it saves, or it loses 20 seconds, but you don't have to attempt the cutscene skip. Attempting the cutscene skip, if you get it right, you kind of basically get a 20-second advantage. But if you fail it, then you lose 4 minutes, and it's really hard to come back from. So most people often tend to do the safe route. Like at least 99 out of 100 people do the safe route. So now now Deesh is going to like activate his corrupt file, and he dies. Because again, all values on that file were set to 0, hence why he deleted it and then saved, which was a bit like, yeah. So now he's going to activate Back in Time again. What he's actually doing, he's pressing the reset button on the Wii. He's like, yeah, continue, and then press reset button on the Wii. It's not that hard timing, but it's not like, don't wait a million years to do it. Just continue, reset, done. I believe what Deesh is doing now, he's doing the practice sword reverse bit magic, or practice sword RBM, which I'll be referring to reverse bit magic as RBM for now. And so basically he rolls into this like kind of tree which opens his gate. Then he saves file 1, which is basically saves file 1 to back in time Skyloft, and copies file 1 to file 2, which will be very useful for several reasons I'll get into. And then he basically enters the sparring hall. So now he's going to go to the back so he can actually get the practice sword. And this is very kind of technical, because if you do anything wrong, you're going to crash the game. So he's got the corrupt file up. He doesn't select any file until this first text box is clear. Then he selects file 1, and then he starts the file. This is just so the game doesn't crash, really. Now you may be wondering, we've already got the goddess sword, so why should we need to have the practice sword? Well, the practice sword is very useful if we want to have a specific flag for a another RBM we'll be doing in about 30 minutes-ish. So, yeah, also we got 2 goddess swords, because we got the goddess sword that's on us back from back in time and not the actual file. So yeah, now we kind of got our bird, we can freely leave, so we're just gonna, strike this crest. And, get the first tablet, I guess. I actually don't know how we, got the tablet. I'm assuming if you get the goddess sword, you immediately have the tablet, but I don't actually know. Again, you can ask any questions in the chat. I'll be happy to answer any of them. And so 64-bit Link is not too far behind. He's just doing the practice sword RBM, and he gets it pretty well. Again, that is pretty easy to mess up and crash, and that's not nice. And yeah, Deesh is kind of on his way to leaving Skyloft, I guess. So if I'm being entirely honest, most of the beginning of this run is pretty boring. It's kind of just us running around. So basically kind of how this game is structured is it's kind of usually cut up into thirds. The first third is chasing after Zelda, where you have to kind of unlock each kind of section of the overworld. You do Farron, then Elden, then Lanayru. In a speed run, we pretty much entirely skip Lanayru, so there's that. Then there's kind of the second third, where you have to go back to each area again, complete a trial, enter a dungeon, and then get a Sacred Flame. And that we kind of, the first third we pretty much do to scripts, with the exception of we pretty much skip the whole of Lanayru. With the second third, we kind of, again, we skip entire all of Lanayru for that, but we also kind of do the Farron and the Elden part side by side. So kind of a bit of a sequence break. And then there's the last third, which is known as the Song of the Hero. And again, you have to revisit all 3 areas and complete a specific task. It's not a boring task. It's more I guess kind of make your way up Elden Volcano without any weapons and stuff like that. We completely skip this due to Song of the Hero skip, which allows the run to be as short as it is. And again, I'll explain that when it happens. But yeah. So anyway, Deesh kind of tilted a bit to the left there when he was diving off Skyloft. That's so he's kind of in a better position to be close to this pillar. Yeah, he's also going to dive off his Loftwing and just kind of dive. This is in order to skip a Phi text. In order to skip Phi, because she's really annoying. Anyone who's played this game will say the exact same thing. She's annoying, and we'll try to skip her as much as possible. And so by doing this, we do skip her. It is quicker, but just because of how annoying she is. So any kind of opportunity we skip Phi, we often do, as long as it's not too out of the way. You'll notice that 64-bit Link got a shield and Deesh didn't. It is quick to get the shield, but it is much safer to get the shield, especially if you don't know shielder strats. So, yeah, I believe that both of these people are doing, or both of these runners are doing the exact same route. I don't think there's gonna be much changes in it. So yeah, again, pretty much There aren't really many like glitches to explain in the first kind of section of the run, so it's really just us running around. I will say that you did see Deesh a second ago go past these Deku Bubbas, which is pretty annoying, but just kind of copy the world record and you'll be fine. Really, that's all I have to say about that. It's like pretty precise, but not really. So the only reason why we actually have to go down here is to activate this kind of seal in order to kind of activate these air geysers, and that's it. And also to in activating the air geysers, we unlock the door to the seal temple. And again, that's the only reason why I have to come down here. And then once we've done this, Fire will rudely interrupt us and talk about dowsing, which is a little bit dumb. I don't really like dowsing, so she asks, like, do you want me to explain it to you? You say no. She does it anyway, because just Fire's bad. Just everyone hate on Fire, please. But yeah, I don't know why Nintendo have done that, but I guess they just have. 64-bit Link having a bit of trouble with those Deco Bubbas, because again, they are pretty precise, but they're not too hard once you kind of get the hang of it. And yeah, unfortunately dies, probably because he wasn't keeping track of his health, which sounds like he's being dumb, but it's actually quite hard to keep track of your health, if I'm being entirely honest. I've done stuff like that before where I've just not kept track of my health. I guess that does kind of put him back at full heart so he can do this properly. So yeah, so now Deesh is in the Seal Temple. He's going to collect this chest, which has a revitalizing potion. We really just need the bottle, not the actual potion itself. But yeah, he also did a side hop there to kind of skip the fade in transition. But yeah, so basically now he's talking to Impa, which is kind of this is a long cutscene. It's a bit weird. Also, 64-bit Link did a nice side hop. What's the world record for Skyward anything? The world record, I believe, is 209 something. I think it's 209.22 by SVA. It's definitely 209. I don't know the last digits. I'll look that up just in a second. But yeah, it's kind of, I guess, here there isn't really much to say. Kind of just text boxes after text boxes. It's kind of just annoying. So anyway, now there's the hardest trick in the game, which is placing this beacon. It shouldn't be that hard, but because the game's really dumb, it kind of makes it really precise. So it's not too hard. It's just very difficult to do quickly. Yeah, Deesh said it right. It's 209.22 by SVA. But yeah, that beacon is pretty difficult to do fast, if I'm being entirely honest. So yeah, so 64-bit just entering Seal Temple, and I think Deesh is just exiting the Seal Temple. So there's that. He again picks up the bottle. He doesn't do the side hop, probably because I don't even know. Just yeah, it is actually pretty difficult to do. Okay, it's not that hard to do the side hop, but it's not like the easiest strat in the world, I'll say. It's kind of, you have to like line yourself up, and it's weird. Anyway, so now we're gonna go outside, and most of Farron and most of Elden is just gonna be kind of like following the intended route of the game. Then we'll kind of, once we finish Elden, we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty stuff of the weirdness of Skyward Sword. So that's about an hour into the game. So for the first hour is kind of just playing the game normally. You'll do a fusion, a couple of glitches, but nothing too game breaking. So yeah, 64-bit Link gets the beacon. Small trouble, but not huge. So yeah, one thing I didn't mention that Deesh did, he did actually get he was able to like take care of a bunch of goblins via a Skyward Strike. in hero mode, this is another advantage on playing in hero mode, is the Skyward Strike is really powerful. No one knows why, it just kind of is. It's the same power as the fully charged, like True Master Sword Skyward Strike on normal mode. Don't ask me why, it just is. And that's very useful, so like you can like basically obliterate a lot of like kind of hordes of like bokoblins like that with just one Skyward Strike. That's not the last time. I think Deesh is, I think 64-bit Link is just doing this. He's doing a weird strat when it comes to this. He's kind of doing a bit of a safer strat, but he's still doing it now. Yep. Thanks, Deesh, for that. Yeah. Yeah, that's he said they gave it to like the power of the normal mode Master Sword, which is weird. They just have. I'm not complaining because it's very useful, as Deesh has just as kind of just showed, as he's like just obliterated those two bokoblins. But yeah, I guess. So now Deesh has entered basically kind of like the depth of Farron Woods. He's met these guys called Kikwees, which basically are probably the cutest thing ever. Floher 258 has got a really cool emote, which I don't have because I have no money to give him to get the emote, so that's sad. Yeah, Fire is a savage. Yeah. Anyway, so I guess for like the next 10-15 minutes is just kind of us running around trying to get to Kikwees. It's really not that interesting. Just kind of it's kind of the game's way of saying, here's Farron Woods, get used to it. But like, as a speedrunner, you're kind of used to it anyway, so it's kind of just annoying stuff you have to do. So again, this is kind of just, there isn't really much to say here apart from just they're kind of just chasing after Kikwees. I believe there are about 4 Kikwees. I'm just gonna count as one here. Yeah, 4 Kikwees. Including the one he's just chasing right now, and 5 if you want to include the Elder Kikwee, which usually the game would want to make you talk to twice, but you don't have to. You only have to talk to him once, which has some really weird text box consequences, where it's like, kind of if you choose the wrong text box, you lose a lot of time, but you just remember which text box you have to select, and you're good. So yeah, 64-bit Link having a little bit of trouble with the overpowered Skyward Strike, but he does sort of get it, I guess. Yeah, there isn't really much to say if you're an Elden. It's kind of just really chill and just running around. It's really not interesting. Again, if anyone has any questions, you can ask me. I won't guarantee I'll answer it, but I'll probably have a good idea. Okay, regarding it's Scout Sword related. But yeah. I guess right now Deesh is kind of a little bit ahead of 64-bit Link. He doesn't have a huge lead, just about like 1 or 2 minutes lead. So not huge, but not like too small either. So here we see the Elder Kikwee. Usually what the game would want you to do is the game would want you to talk to him now. But we don't have to, so we're just not going to. Just as simple as that. Just yawn then. So yeah, this rope, I'll be honest, this rope kind of makes me kind of decalibrate a lot, probably because of just how bad I am with motion controls, but most other people it's fine, which is weird. Also, here's another example of the overpowered Skyward Strike, just boom, 5 bokoblins dead. Pretty much. Also, please tell me if I sound like ear rape, because that's kind of a thing. Because my mic is really weird, it's yeah, so tell me if like I'm loud. If I am, I'll like turn it down. But if it's fine, then it's fine then. So here's kind of the second Kikwee. Okay, audio's good. Okay, that's nice. So this Kikwee is in a tree, and we just bonk into him. It's fine. There is kind of an incredibly precise thing you can do, which is like if you bonk on a specific frame, you'll like skip a part of this cutscene, which saves 5 seconds, but no one goes for it because it's frame perfect, and yes, it's frame perfect, and there's like no visual or audio cues, so it's only ever used in like TAS runs of this game, if that would even exist. But like, I don't think I think people TAS this game. I just don't think anyone like has the tools to do a full run of this. So there's kind of that unfortunate thing. Also, the vine Deesh just took is pretty annoying, but like you have to like swing one way then swing the other. You can't just swing back and jump. But kind of once you get it, it's not that difficult, I guess. Yeah, apologies if I keep yawning. It's kind of I'm a little bit tired. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, 64-bit Link doing this kind of weird strat with the Skyward Strike and removing the I don't even know what they're called. Just like obstacles on the rope. I don't know what they're called. They're just things. Also, on Deesh's screen, we saw him kind of cut the grass in a specific way. This is basically to stop the Kikwi from moving. So yeah, it seems like 64-bit Link is kind of having a bit of like trouble with the Skyward Sword attack. Well, overpowered Skyward Strike, which is it's pretty difficult, but it is pretty easy to mess up, I'll be entirely honest. So Deesh is just going to move down a log. This will be pretty useful later, because since we do have to come back to this area multiple times. And yeah, I think, I guess you could douse for the Kikwi, but it's completely pointless as a speedrun. We never use dowsing on purpose. Might for like, kind of the memes, but not really if it loses time. So Deesh is on his like final Kikwi, I mean. So and once you're done with the Kikwi's, you kind of go to the Kikwi Elder. And the only reason why we've done all of this is to get the slingshot, and the slingshot is kind of useful for the fact that, well, A, we can enter Skyview Temple with it, and B, it gives us access to the whole B wheel, or like the item wheel, which is impossible to like entirely yes, it's impossible to beat the game without the item wheel. So we do kind of need the slingshot. So here's the Kikwi Elder. Again, there's kind of like this dialogue choices. You have to choose right. I mean left, sorry. God, my left's so bad. You have to choose left. Otherwise, you kind of pretty much lose 10 seconds. Most other dialogues are usually fine. But that one specifically is a bit dumb, if I'm being entirely honest. Mainly because we only talked to him once, and you're meant to talk to him twice. And it's weird. So basically how it kind of goes is, again, during this kind of part of the game, Zelda's constantly running away from you, even though you're going basically the speed of the light. She still runs away from you, which is pretty annoying. Yeah, just choose the right dialogue on the left. Then you're good. Anyway, so again, here's a slingshot. This is the only reason why we really saved all these Kikwi's, because again, we can skip the slingshot, but you wouldn't get very far, because A, you needed to activate Skyview Temple, and B, you needed to activate the item wheel, which both those things you need to complete the game. So yeah, there's also this kind of vine, which is as you can see with the English text, I could probably refer to the English text a lot because of just how much you can read it and how slow it is. You can kind of like just you can kind of tell that like that vine was not meant to be kind of knocked down on purpose. What the game wants you to do is it kind of wants you to use like kind of target practice for the slingshot, but because we kind of rolled into the side of the hill, we're fine. And that vine dropped down pretty much. So yeah. So again, here's kind of how we get out of the area is by like shooting this vine down. Again, you can skip this by something that's like really precise, but you wouldn't get much further. So again, 64-bit Link is on his last Kikwi. And Deesh is entering Deep Woods, which it'll be interesting to see if any of these runners do extending blow. Or if any of them will attempt it, rather. So extending blow is essentially when you do a fatal blow on a bokoblin, where you do a fatal blow on a bokoblin that doesn't have any coordinates but is technically still in the map, and that kind of does a weird thing where, because you're doing the extending blow, the game sends you to like 0-0, and here it's exactly it is pretty much exactly in front of the Skyview Temple, so it's very useful. Unfortunately, Deesh does not get it because it's really random how the bokoblin will kind of flop over. There's like kind of 1 in 4 ways how he can flop over, and just one of them works for extending blow. So it's a bit unfortunate, but yeah. Again, sorry, I'm yawning. I'm pretty tired. But there's like this backup strat known as Cube Warp, which is much easier and much more consistent. You literally just use this bokoblin and the Skyward Strike. You line it up, do the Skyward Strike, and because this is the first cube you get, it kind of warps you to its position. So that's pretty cool. So you don't have to go around what Floa calls the Walk of Shame. So yeah. Also, Deesh does the phi text skip. Yeah, he basically skips phi text by jumping, jumping over the trigger at like a precise way. It's pretty difficult, but he got it, and so now Deesh enters Skyview. 64-bit Link is pretty far behind. Not hugely far behind, but he's not like on his tail, so there's that. So anyway, Deesh is now going to save, and now he's going to do. Now we're going to go back to our good old friend Back in Time. So the whole kind of reason why we kind of damaged down at that spiral area. Okay, well, the first reason is because it's just more convenient. The second reason is because it's more convenient to die here, because we need to be on low health. So Deesh is gonna like die to this keys, and again, anyone who's new here, you activate Back in Time by pressing continue and by pressing reset on the console afterwards. And what that does is it puts Link on the title screen, and you can do a lot of things with this. And what we're going to do now is we're going to pretty much skip all of Skyview. Also, I'll refer to 64-bit Link as 64-bit, just so I don't have to, just so his like name isn't an entire mouthful. He didn't unfortunately get extending blow, so it is pretty hard, I'll be honest. So what Deesh is going to do is he's going to do what's known as a bit warp. So how a bit warp works is essentially he starts the file and then saves a bird statue, and what that does is that saves the coordinates of Back in Time onto file 1. And my chair is squeaky as hell. So I don't know if it's like showing on the mic, but my chair squeaks. Anyway, back to explanation. Because Deesh saved the coordinates from Back in Time onto file 1, like he spawns really quite far into Skyview Temple, and that's very useful because he's like skips pretty much the first section of Skyview Temple. You did notice that the room was pretty much unloaded, so we had to like go back to here to load it up. And shut up, chair. And this is kind of like amplified by the fact this spider wasn't here before and stuff like that. So what Deesh is gonna have to do now is he's gonna have to like do this pretty precise jump to like kind of get by the spider. It's pretty annoying. I personally don't go for it. I go for like not an easier strat, but a safer strat. But like, yeah, it's dumb, especially to new runners. So again, kind of just using the slingshot to activate this, and yeah. Yeah, this is definitely Back in Time run. if this game was if this game had no back in time in it, this run would be about 6 hours long, which is insane for how much time it like gets, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so now we are pretty close to the end of Skyview Temple just for that bit, but we're kind of not done here because we need the beetle. I don't think it's possible to beat the game without the beetle. I know there are like some strats you can do without the beetle, but not like I don't think you can do beetle the strats for everything. So there is definitely a kind of required element in order to beat the game, and just yeah, it's a useful item that we kind of need. And also this this puzzle basically was that after the mini boss, it doesn't let you out unless you unless you use the beetle to basically I activate the switch again. I actually quite liked this type of puzzle. It was quite cool. But yeah, that's I honestly like keep getting to points where I don't know what to say because how little is honestly happening on screen. And also, I guess I'm tired, but that's not important. So anyway, Deesh has now just collected this red rupee. He also broke boards earlier, and what these have done is anyway, yeah, kind of like what Deesh is doing there is that he's setting up specific values in the memory, which will be very useful in back in time. Casually, that puzzle took you way too long. Yeah, that puzzle doesn't really give you much indication of what to do, especially considering that the rest of the game basically just spoon feeds you information. Like it's pretty dumb. Like half the time the game will like spoon feed you information. That's the right word. Half the time you actually have to figure it out for yourself, and you don't know when is when. Anyway, so Deesh is gonna activate back in time again. So this is going to be known as the Sheikah Stone RBM. And this is pretty confusing. This is probably quite like the first confusing thing about this game. So I'll try to explain it as best I can. It is really difficult to explain though. So basically what Deesh does is he copies file 1 to file 3 to make sure that it's basically got the practice order to it. Then he bit saves file 3, but then he copies file 1 to file 3 again. This is basically just to make sure that it's file 3 is in Skyview. So then he starts file 1 and he rolls into this cutscene. And what that does is that sets a specific bit in memory kind of at an incorrect value. So for example, and that is very useful because that incorrect value will correspond to something on the file. So for example, if I guess I'm just going to try to simplify how this works. This is not at all how this works, but I guess I have to simplify. Say activating that specific cutscene activated the bit in memory that was number 4. That is completely wrong, but I just want to simplify it so it's easy to say. And basically what that did is so sorry, I just got distracted from it. So basically what that did is that it basically made the what's it called? It made the it made you able to skip the Girahim fight, which is the exact same value. So by activating that bit in value in back in time, you're essentially kind of doing the same. You're essentially kind of skipping the Girahim fight and stuff like that. Is possible throughout the whole game, which is kind of why the game is as short as it is now, because you can take information from back in time and by setting scene flags or story flags, put the information onto your file and skip complete segments, if that made sense to anyone. So yeah, that's pretty much and because he did that reverse bit magic, he was able just to walk straight past Girahim. He'll be pretty angry about that, so he'll be back, don't worry. And so yeah, that's Skyview done for Deesh at least. 64-bit Link is pretty far behind. He's still at the mini boss fight. It is still possible for him to catch up, but he's gonna have to do a little bit of work at this point, if I'm being honest. It is kind of black magic. It's a bit confusing. The name doesn't help either. It's Bit is kind of back in time. Bit magic is off of basically how that kind of happened was let me just try and think of like there's a specific story in how this happened. Basically, someone did a specific like basically what happened was that someone like pushed down a specific log in their file, and some like doors opened in back in time, and people called this back in time magic because they didn't know what happened at the time. Reverse bit magic is you basically do stuff on back in time Skyloft, or just back in time in general, which corresponds to each file depending on which one you start. And it's weird. So yeah. Anyway. So what's his name? Deesh is done with Skyview. And I guess now he's I believe now he's doing what's known as the early Elden Pillar. So yeah, and so basically what this does is now you might be wondering why we actually need already got the Elden Pillar on our file. Now this is essentially just to get the Elden Pillar onto file 2, and that's going to be very useful in order to enter Farron Woods back in time, which is crucial for doing Song of the Hero skip, which I'll mention as we go. Anyway, so basically how this kind of works is he does like some funky stuff. Like I didn't actually pay attention to what he was doing, if I'm being entirely honest. But there is a similar glitch later, which I'll explain what happens more. But basically, he did some like funky stuff, such as I believe he picked up a rupee and selected file 1, examined the bird statue with file 3, and bit saved file 1. I believe that's what he did. He might have done something slightly different, but if you do something along those lines, A, you'll get this kind of crest to rise up, and B, you'll be able to get the Elden Pillar tablet. And so basically, you get to this cutscene really, and you start file 2 at a specific time, and what that does is that puts the Elden Pillar onto file 2. Since it's a story flag, basically. But Deesh didn't actually check, but like most runners would usually check in a race situation. But I mean, the timing is pretty loose, so it's likely he got it. So just get some like room in my chair so it's not squeaky. I don't know if it's appearing on the mic, but my chair's squeaky as hell. So now we're just gonna enter file 1 and put the Elden Pillar on file 1 so we can actually go to Elden. Now here's around the time we'd usually use the revitalizing potion, really just so we can get up to full hearts. Oh, I don't know. Actually, we might have already been at full hearts. Just so we use it now, pretty much, so we have an empty bottle by the time we need. Because really all we have that for is just an empty bottle. So I believe 64-bit is just doing the Sheikah Stone RBM, and like the cutscene is the Sheikah Stone basically appearing, so that's why it's called that. It looks like he had like some trouble with things, but yeah, it does kind of look like Deesh has a significant lead. It'll be very interesting to see what happens next, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it looks like 64-bit's having a little bit of trouble with that, because if you get that fight cutscene, it's really bad because you basically soft lock back in time. Because basically what happens is that the game forces you to be in a kind of in a random pumpkin patch, and if you try and leave, the game goes out. And so you basically soft lock yourself. So the only way to do that is to redo the glitch by starting your file. And yeah, and basically that happens because 64-bit accidentally kind of looked at the pumpkin patch with his camera. That's kind of how you don't do it. You just don't look at the pumpkin patch, but that's pretty difficult since like it just kind of the way the camera works. So you have to kind of move the camera in a really awkward position. Excuse me. Anyway, so now we're just moving on to Eldin on Deesh's side. And yeah, I believe Eldin is. It's a little. I guess Eldin itself is a little bit. We'll skip kind of the first part of Eldin, and we'll also kind of skip the whole like quest before the Earth Temple. So we won't skip much of this in like kind of a dramatic way. We'll kind of just skip it like in kind of like small increments. Like we'll like gradually skip this and we'll like skip this. Nothing too game changing. And that's kind of what Deesh is doing. He's activating back in time for those new viewers. What he's basically doing is he's pressing, he's continuing, and he's resetting his console, which allows you to play on the title screen, which is incredibly useful. So essentially what Deesh is doing here is what's known as a bit warp, which is where you save the coordinates from back in time onto file 1, which can be very useful. At least in this situation, it's useful to like skip pretty much the first section of Eldin. So this is a little bit more precise. I mean, but because if you like stand too close to the statue, you'll actually warp it inside a goddess statue, which is not great. But yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, now we kind of skip like the first overground section of Eldin. And in order to progress further, we need the digging mitts, which isn't really too hard to get. We just kind of need to slay all these, which in theory D should do in a huge like Skyward strike thing, which if he pulls off will be pretty cool. I believe he pulled off. Yeah, he pulled it off. It's basically just like the overpowered Skyward strike, basically to the max, where he takes care of like everyone there. So yeah, and again, the only reason why we actually did that is to get the digging mitt. These will not like be very useful, other than kind of progressing in Eldin in the 80% route at least. Also, shoutouts to Exto, who made a tutorial on loaded vines that 64-bit just went over. It's a pretty good vine tutorial. Would recommend if you struggle with vines. Also, yeah, I will mention those vines are pretty challenging to kind of deal with. Because you're not meant to go back on those vines because of like you're meant to go around the long way, but speedrunners just do anyway. So yeah, kind of just making. Deesh is kind of just making his way through Eldin. 64-bit is just skipping the Gohim fight. So yeah. Also, here comes up circles, which essentially is a really dumb trick. Well, it's not dumb; it's the best trick. I mean, Deesh unfortunately doesn't get it. It's basically where you roll into the cutscene at a specific angle and position, and Link just runs around in circles. And I believe I'm the only runner to get that consistently. Like I get about 50% consistently, which is pretty funny considering that some of the tricks that actually matter I can't do at all. But I can do circles, and that's all that matters. But yeah, I guess we're kind of Deesh is right now stopping halfway through up Eldin. So anyway, Deesh is stopping halfway up Eldin to do a glitch. Wants to do kind of go back to reverse bit magic. He's gonna do another back in time, which again for new viewers, continue and reset the console at the exact same time. So now we get to play on the title screen. In this situation, what Deesh is doing is he's gonna do a reverse bit magic. He's gonna do, I think, the gravestone RBM as his node. So what Deesh has to do is he has to make Skyloft, have to basically make nighttime Skyloft by entering, at least the quickest way to do it, or at least the most convenient, is to make it nighttime via the item seller's house. Just because of like how close it is to the graveyard. Yeah, and yawn. Anyway, so now here it's important that you exit it with file 2, otherwise the game will crash, and that's not great. So anyway, now we're like nighttime back in time. So essentially, what Deesh will do is that he'll strike the gravestone with his sword, and then press start, and then push the gravestone forward, and that'll activate a specific bit in memory on Skyloft, and the corresponding bit in Eldin is opening the Earth Temple. So by doing that in back in time Skyloft, we have effectively opened the Earth Temple. And you won't really see the effects quite yet, mainly because we're not at the Earth Temple just yet. But we'll be at the Earth Temple shortly, I guess. So, yeah. I will also mention that that book opening is pretty challenging to get. Okay, so again, this is kind of just also blue rupee, by the way. Also, this is essentially just kind of walking up walking up Eldin, I mean. So it's not like very interesting. Movement here is pretty like consistent over everything, because of like kind of the way the stamina fruit are laid out, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it looks like 64-bit is having a little bit of trouble. Actually, I need to fix my audio one sec. I have an echo with my audio, don't I? Anyway, just trying to fix my audio one sec. Okay, yeah, sorry, my audio is good. Anyway, yeah, 64-bit's having a little bit of trouble in Skyview, having like glitches, but yeah. I think he's doing the Elden Pillar thing, so yeah. Deesh has now picked up a green and blue rupee, which is, yeah. I guess thing with rupees in this game is that the only one we intentionally pick up is the 20 rupee we get in Skyview for like the specific value of getting a red rupee. But yeah, I guess the thing is that blue rupees will tell you how much they're worth, like every time you like pick one up after starting a new file. But green like rupees, like they'll only tell you how much they're worth, and never again. Even if you like start the file again, if you like, I don't know, do a dance, if you turn the console off, if you do anything, it'll just tell you. It just won't tell you what it means again. It'll just add 1 to your rupee count. Also, here's Earth Temple, by the way. You might have noticed that the door was closed, but because we did that reverse bit magic, we could just kind of walk into the loading zone. So yeah, Earth Temple is not many people's favourite dungeon. It's not really my favourite dungeon. It's really annoying, especially on 2 hearts, which is what you mostly play on in this game. So yeah, they're kind of like small, like cutscene, say like times, like for example, rolling off that staircase and cutting down the like bridge with Skyward strikes. Essentially, that kind of like skips the drawbridge like lowering cutscene. So yeah. There isn't really much I can say, to be honest, right now. Kind of, Deesh is just kind of making his way through Earth Temple, except now, Deesh is almost 3 minutes ahead of PB. That is poggers. Anyway, so, basically what Deesh is gonna do, he's gonna, activate back in time again by again continuing and restarting his console, which doesn't play on the title screen. So he's going to do the exact same. He's going to do the exact same reverse bit magic he just did in Elden, which was the graveyard. The graveyard RBM or gravestone RBM. Sorry about that. Just yawned. Anyway, so again, he's gonna turn back in time tonight, and yeah, he's just gonna do the exact same way he did like 5 minutes ago. So there isn't really much point in like commentating on that. It looks like 64-bit is. It looks like he's got the Elden pillar finally. So he is pretty far behind, but like, yeah. So yeah, so Deesh has kind of just done the gravestone RBM or graveyard RBM, gravestone. He's just done that RBM, regardless of what it's called. So essentially, what that does in the Earth Temple is that it raises the pegs, or kind of like the not pegs, what are they called? The I'm just gonna call them pegs. I don't know what they're called actually, but it kind of raises these this kind of thing so you can advance into the Earth Temple. But we're not done because we need the bomb bag. Otherwise, we can't like otherwise we can't actually like complete this dungeon. Actually, no, we can technically complete this dungeon. It's just race lower. Yeah, that's my chair. I don't actually know the microphone like picking this up, but I'm like hearing like just random squeaks on my chair. It's weird. And Deesh dies to a rogue bokoblin being a dick or something like that. I don't know. I mean that is essentially what happened. So yeah, I mean he did blow up the wall, and that's kind of like the whole point of doing that. So no. Okay, well now Deesh has to like get his health down, which makes sense. And so yeah, Deesh is now going to try and get the bomb bag through these like two Lizalfos. I haven't really talked about the Lizalfos much. They're pretty annoying, but like regarding how to like you understand their like patterns of attacks or just kind of like how their attacks work. You can kind of just spin attack them and they'll be fine pretty much. So yeah, wait, yeah, okay, we're good, yeah. So now Deesh has got the bomb bag, which is very useful, mainly in order to like complete the game, but also to die really quickly. I believe the only, I think it is physically possible to complete the game without the bomb bag, just not with this current route. The only route that I know of that you can complete the game without the bomb bag is, I think, it's Cistern Second, where you do like Ancient Cistern as the second dungeon, and like I believe it's the route that Indy did on his first round in the tournament, like Indy Kenobi. And I think he skipped the bomb bag, which was that was an interesting way to commentate. I'll be honest. So yeah. So now we've truly got the bomb bag. 64-bit is literally just entering Elden. Or actually, he's just entering the underground portion of Elden. So he is pretty far behind, but anything can happen with the Skyward Sword. It's a very weird game when it comes to races. It's always it's never surprised me. It always surprises me when it comes to races. Anyway, so now we're gonna die. And what that does is that commits the bit so that the pigs are up, which is kind of why we did the back in time in the first place. Also, 64-bit having a little bit of trouble with this huge amount of bokoblins. Also, green rupee, by the way. because why not? So yeah, kind of Deesh is kind of making his way through Earth Temple. 64-bit is kind of just like walking through kind of like having to deal with these bokoblins. He does seem to be struggling a little bit, but they are pretty difficult, if I'll be honest. So basically what Deesh is doing here is, because he can't make it up in, like, yeah, so basically Deesh is, what he's doing here is he's stutter sprinting because, well, what the game wants you to do is it wants you to, like, blow up a hole and so you have to, like, hide in that hole, but really we can just kind of stutter sprint for the whole time, which is what we do, and Deesh only just gets it, which is nice. Also, 64-bit is now just getting the digging bits. He's ahead of his PB, it looks like, right now, but his PB is pretty low, so I think he does have a lot of like leeway with this time. Anyway, so yeah, 1 hour. So we are 1 hour in. Deesh appears to be ahead by a pretty substantial lead, although anything does go sword. Anyway, so now we've got the boss key. And we're going to basically go Indiana Jones style and run away from this boulder. Unfortunately, we don't have the whip, so we can't go full on Indiana Jones, just half Indiana Jones. We will get the whip later, just not with this kind of boulder. If you did System Seconds, you would be full Indiana Jones at this point, because you would have the whip. But we don't, so F in the chat for that. Anyway, so one thing I haven't mentioned right now is kind of boss keys and how they work. They're kind of a puzzle in themselves, where you kind of have to like tilt the Wii remote and like get it in the right position. They're pretty easy, like Elden and like Earth Temple and Skyward are pretty easy. They get really hard as they go along. I think like Fire Sanctuaries is like stupidly difficult, at least for like most people. So yeah, Deesh is about to just encounter probably the most annoying boss in the whole any percent route, which is called Skuldera, which is basically King Dodongo with like a ramp you have to run up. It really doesn't really go much more than just throw bomb in mouth, hit I, run up ramp, run down ramp, throw bomb in mouth, repeat, just keep doing that until he dies. There are a few things you can do, but it's really just a simple and boring boss fight, and really dumb as well, because of like how hard the optimal strat for this boss fight is. And there are kind of different things you can do for this boss fight. There are kind of the most yeah, like God, what was I gonna say? The most popular kind of method for this is, I think, what's known as the tricycle, which is the 3 cycle. It's kind of like one cycle is kind of when you're able to kind of knock his eye, I believe. So yeah. There's also what's known as, I think either a dicycle or a bicycle, which is a 2 cycle. It's impossible to do a unicycle. I think 2 cycle is about, or a dicycle or I don't know what it's called. I'm gonna call it as a bicycle because that's what the things with 2 wheels are called. So a bicycle, I believe, is probably the fastest strat for Skuldera. It'll be interesting, but it's okay. A bicycle is pretty difficult to do for Skuldera, so most people often do a tricycle, even if they're attempting a bicycle. I'm just listing out wheeled stuff. It looks like Deesh is going for the bicycle, but it's pretty difficult. I personally very rarely get the bicycle. I often either just get the tricycle by trying the bicycle, which is really dumb, but whatever. So yeah. Okay, so basically kind of the strat with Skuldera is, when you get him down, just Deesh just rolls into his legs. Wait, I should say something in chat. Yeah, Deesh is spoiling it. So yeah. Okay, there's a lot that has happened in that fight, so I'll just try and have to unpack it a little bit. So basically, the kind of optimal strat is, you basically kind of, when he's down, you use Skyward strikes as much as possible, just because of how overpowered it is. When he starts like running over you, Skull starts running over you. There's this kind of strat where when he's about to open his mouth, his eye is his eye's hitbox is enabled for just a few frames, so you can hit it. It's pretty precise. Deesh did actually manage to get it, which is pretty cool. So that is LSR bot 6, not spoilers, yeah. Okay, so Deesh would essentially want to have 2 hearts and at least 5 bombs at this point, which he does, so that's fine. 64-bit Link having a little bit of trouble there, which is he just dies, which is incredibly annoying. I've got a video of me shouting "fuck" right at this bit, just because of how annoying it is to die then. And yeah, there goes my F word for the whole of this event, I guess. Yay. Anyway, so there's Earth Temple done on Deesh's side at least. 64-bit is kind of just climbing up Earth Temple. No, he's climbing up Elden. I mean, again, he's pretty far behind. But again, anything can happen with Skyward Sword. It's really kind of one of those games where, you know, just anything can happen. I will refresh my page, so my commentary page, so we'll see if anything changes. Yeah, not really. Yeah, so coming out of Earth Temple, he like holds Z, so he kind of cancels the walking animation. That's just very useful to do, anyway. It's like cancel walking animation. So yeah, and also because D got SQ because he missed extending blow, he now has this fight cutscene, which is very annoying if I'm being entirely honest. Like if he got extending blow, this would be entirely skipped, but it isn't. So there's that. So yeah. Also, you notice that the Thunderhead is open. That's because the early gravestone RBM we did also applies to this. Just don't ask me why. It's really weird. So yeah, it just did that, I guess. So now we can enter the Earth Temple early. So yeah, again, 64-bit Link in Earth Temple. And Deesh has just finished the Earth Temple and going to the Isle of Songs. Now, the Isle of Songs is a bit of a weird place, because we only have to go there once to collect a song. And if we could skip this, then we would, if we could skip something known as the Water Dragon scale, then we would be able to skip this pretty much. Which would save about like 10 minutes, but unfortunately we can't because this game hates us a lot. The game's just like constantly holding onto anything that they can at this point because we just basically cut it in half. Anyway, so this puzzle's pretty annoying, but it's a thing that exists, so it's not too difficult. Just kind of, yeah, it's a standard Zelda puzzle. I don't really like. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. So yeah, so it looks like 64-bit's having a little bit of trouble with keys, but they're always annoying, regardless of what your skill level is. Yeah, Deesh, please do not like keep pressing. That's really bad. I've done it before and I just completely lost it for that bit. So anyway, so once that's done, you can kind of just enter the Isle of Songs and get the song known as Pharoah's Courage. And the only reason why we need to go here is to learn that song. Excuse me. And the only reason why we need to know that song is to enter the trial. And the only reason why we need to enter the trial is to get the Water Dragon scale. And the only reason why we need to get the Water Dragon scale is to enter the Ancient Cistern. And the only reason why we need to enter the Ancient Cistern is to make sure that the imprisoned fight does not crash. And there's like so many like single layered dependencies that like we could probably easily break, except we can't because this game hates us. That's Skyward Sword, essentially. Like the things we can't skip are like just dependent on other things like the Gate of Time, Water Dragon Scale, and stuff like that. Anyway, so what Deesh is going to do now, because we're in the Isle of Songs, Deesh is going to activate the Lanayru pillar. He's going to do it in file 1, but he's also going to do it back in time. Sorry, yeah. So again, he activates back in time. He goes outside to do it because doing it in the Isle of Songs is, for some reason, impossible. No one really knows why, it just is. So yeah, so basically what Deesh will do here is he's gonna bonk this tree with file 2, so like the door's open. He's gonna bit save file 1 to the lower academy statue. This he should do at least. Yep. It's a bit finicky, but he does it anyway. And then what he's gonna do, he's going to go up to this statue and activate it, or no, yeah, examine it with file 3. And he's going to go into the goddess statue and place the Lanayru pillar down and start file 1 at a specific time, which will get the Lanayru pillar in his file, essentially. Okay, I believe he did something. Oh, he didn't. I don't know if he did anything wrong. I don't know. Anyway, I think everything should be fine regarding he can place down the tablet. I think he should be able to. No, he can't. He can't. Okay, I think he couldn't because he missed out getting a rupee to kind of put it into back in time. If we were doing the Elden pillar one, we would often do it again because we actually need it in file 2. But because we're right here, Deesh immediately realizes that he didn't collect the rupee, which is kind of something you need to do in order to kind of spawn the tablet in. But as it's just like, as the Lanayru, as the goddess sword is right here, or goddess statue, I mean, is right here, and we have the Lanayru tablet, we might as well just place it normally, which is slower, but whatever. It's still a thing. So yeah, it looks like 64-bit is he just did the gravestone RBM for the second time, and it looks like he's on his way to get the bomb bag. Yeah, the gap between him and Deesh is just ever expanding, so it's yeah, it's becoming increasingly more difficult for 64-bit to win this. So, but again, anything can happen with Skyward Sword. For all I know, Deesh could just completely mess up everything in his files and just forfeit, and the 64-bit Link would just have a complete like sprint to the finish. But I don't know. Everything kind of like, yeah, depends what happens. Okay, so now Deesh is now just going to fly to Elden. So now here's kind of where the weird stuff kind of begins, at least on the terms of kind of glitches. Like, for now it's kind of just been like lightly skip the segment, like skip part of the segment. Now we're gonna skip entire sections of the overworld. Like, we're gonna skip. If you like Lanayru, I am sorry. We're like, I think the total amount of time spent in Lanayru in the 80% out is, I think, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So we essentially just skip all of Lanayru. You do not see pretty much any of Lanayru in this run because of the fact that we're able to completely skip the Lanayru mining facility, and the Song of a Hero skip essentially means that we don't need to come back here for the Lanayru Gorge, and we can completely skip Sandship because we can do Fire Sanctuary early. So yeah, you do not see much of Lanayru in this run. Okay, so unfortunately 64-bit dies to the Stalfos, which is... It's pretty easy to do. They're really difficult enemies, if I'm being entirely honest. So anyway, Deesh does another RBM. His death was purposeful. This is, I think, yeah, this is an RBM. This is, I think, talking to, or activating the Betrow quest, which not only does it, make a specific statue you're able to fly to, it also, starts the, quest on, like, Betrow on File 1, which will be, incredibly useful for other back-in times later on in the run. Because other back-in times are, like, dependent on there being a, on, like, Betrow's quest being started. So, also, he has to be quite careful with the camera here, because, just, like, so he doesn't, get soft-locked by 5 pumpkins, which is pretty annoying. So yeah, here's Betrow. He's kind of like the friendly monster thing. He was he was never, like, ever shown in any percent until just recently when reverse bit magic came a thing, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, this is like Betrow. He's kind of the bulk of all this, like, the side quests, and really kind of what he really kind of his kind of quests is gaining gratitude crystals, and you basically do this by doing tasks, like everyday tasks for people, which is pretty mundane for a game, but whatever. But all we have to do back in time in order for this, like, flag to be set is to start this quest, and what that does is that activates a specific or it activates a specific well, I'm so dumb. Activates a specific statue in Temple of Time, which allows us to completely skip the Nehru mining facility and get the harp, like, right now. So that's pretty cool. Also, here's a hidden rupee you didn't know that was there. And that's essentially useful, in order to that's kind of needed to commit the bit to memory. So therefore, the when we do fly back into the Nehru, we'll be able to fly to the bird statue that we just quote unquote examined by starting the Betrow thing. But also by doing that, there'll be future RBMs that we can do, such as, I think, skipping the Scrapper, like going up to Elden. I'll explain that more when we get to it, but yeah, you see that, like, only the Temple of Time, well, not only the start of the Nehru is highlighted, but we can still go to the Temple of Time pretty much. Despite the fact we've never seen this bird statue because of the power of reverse bit magic, and because of this, we completely skip the Nehru 1 and the Nehru mining facility. Okay, so now Deesh has the harp, and now this is kind of when things are crazy, so it's a little bit commentate because of just how difficult and hard to explain everything is. I'll try my best, but I won't guarantee that I'll actually do everything right. So anyway, after that, he does a 2-frame side hop, which is pretty difficult, but he gets it, which is nice. But he also activates back in time for a really confusing glitch, which I'm gonna try and explain as we go along. This is much more confusing than all the other glitches, so I hope you're ready for this. Anyway, so basically what happens is Deesh is now going to the Bazaar statue to bit save file 2. What this does is it spawns the Loftwing into back in time, and this is useful in order to activate Farron back in time, which is what Deesh is going to do, pretty much. So he, like, jumps off this thing. He causes bird, and just as it's fading out, he makes sure that he selects file 2. If you don't select file 2, the game will crash, and that's quite bad. So now we're in the kind of layer of Skyloft that actually works in back in time, which is the tutorial. And this is why we needed the Elden Light Pillar on file 2, is so that we can activate the overworld in back in time. Because you're not actually meant to be able to get to Elden, the tutorial bounds are well within this kind of Elden pillar, so you can just enter the overworld. And because the game's like, oh, this must be his first time doing this, so we'll send him to Farron. That's where he ends up pretty much. So that's basically how you activate Farron in Back in Time. We will be using this to our advantage a couple times. In this specific situation, it'll be used to skip having to learn the Ballad of the Goddess, pretty much. Or at least learn it in Back in Time, if that makes sense. So, anyway, so now we're Back in Time Farron. So basically, he's going to select file 1 about now, which will have like phi say something, which is the yada 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 shut up phi. He's going to enter behind the temple with file 1, and then without touching anything, without pressing start, he's going to talk to Groose, and that's very. Now you don't press the A button, and the reason why I was able to sprint then was because he was holding down the A button before he regained control of Link, like during the loading screen. So yeah, but in this cutscene you can really just do whatever you want with. What Deesh does, I believe he's going to select file 2, and okay, so that no values are being set onto Back in Time, he basically presses the plus menu of he basically like presses like copy file 2, and he stays on that screen so that no values get set. So now he basically presses. A lot just unpacked in the last 5 seconds, so I'll try and sorry. I'll try and explain what happened. So basically, as soon as he entered Sealed Temple, he pressed A to stop a cutscene happening. Then he entered the kind of circle with file 2, and before the text box finished, he selected file 1 and started file 1 as soon as he cleared the text box. And what that did is that made the gate of time raise up. Yeah. Apologies for all this yawning, it is pretty late for me. But yeah, so now there's that. Now Deesh will be doing an incredibly weird. He's going to be doing Song of the Hero skip, which is incredibly confusing, but it's a thing that's happening nonetheless. So he's going to bonk into this tree with file 2 activated, which opens these doors. And what he's going to do is he's going to examine. He's going to essentially examine file 1 and bit save file 2. And like kind of what it does, it sets up 7x02, or it sets up the bit 7x02, which is necessary for Song of the Hero skip. So again, he activates Farron Back in Time with file 2, and going into the kind of tutorial, and going into Elden Code. This is like the same as pretty much the last time, essentially. So 64-bit just finishing up Skuldera. He is very far behind, I will say now, so yeah, he's very far behind, so he is gonna have to probably pretty much have a miracle if he wants to pull this off. Yeah, he is collecting the heart container, which is yeah, most people don't just collect that one, but I guess for safety you probably could. Again, sorry that I'm yawning all over the place. So yeah, one thing I didn't mention last time is that it's very important they have to enter Farron with file 3. Otherwise, it'll pretty much crash. It won't crash per se, but just enter Farron with file 3. Anyway, so now he's here. So he's going to enter behind the temple with file 2 open, and that's kind of where things get really interesting. So I'm going to try and explain my best I can. So basically, he's going to examine the statue with the file select menu open, or the He's gonna save and quit with file 1, And then what he does is when he quits, he opens file 2 and he presses the B button. And so what that should have done, that should have activated 7x04. He ran out of stamina. Big oof. Anyway, so that should have like activated 7x04 if you'd done all that correctly. And he enters Farron Woods of file 2, and that's very important. So now all he has to do is start the file and press 2 and Z. And in theory, a cutscene should start, which is exactly what happens because of the camera angle that was onto Link. And now all the game has to do is commit the bit to memory, and this is done by talking to Phi. And in doing that, we have successfully skipped, I believe, we have effectively skipped Tad Tones, Bokoblin Base, Levias, Skykeep, pretty much everything from everything from Imprisoned 2 to Skykeep we've completely skipped. And I believe that saves about an hour and 45 minutes. If someone can correct me on that, please do. But it's about that. It saves. So that's pretty huge glitch that they've just done. This probably one of the more confusing ones actually, but it's a thing that happens nonetheless. Anyway, so now here's the trial gate which I was talking about, which again, the only reason why we need this is to get the Water Dragon scale. The only reason why we need Water Dragon scale is Ancient Cistern, and in Prison 2, just a whole jumble of mess that we have to do just because we have to do this, just because we have to do that sort of shit. Yeah, I should have said that. Anyway, so now I believe Deesh will be doing harp cancel. Yeah, he gets it. So basically how this works is he presses B just on the right frame. So basically what he does is sort of tired. Anyway, so basically what he does is he skips the cutscene of like Phi singing and stuff. So he literally just enters the trial like early, I guess. God, I can't speak. Anyway, so yeah, so now Deesh is in the first trial. This is a pretty easy hand-holding trial. It's pretty much like a tutorial for the other trials. In the game, in the actual game, there are 4 trials. In the Indie Percent round, we'll only see 2 of them. We'll see the Farron one and we'll see the Elden one. But we'll miss out the Linear one and the Skyloft one because we don't go to do Linear at all, and the Skyloft one because that's part of Song of the Hero which we skip. But Farron and Elden we still have to do because that's kind of part of the getting into the dungeons in this section. So yeah, pretty much. So after Phi's incredibly long cutscene, basically what happens is we just kind of do the Silent Realm, and basically how this works is you go around collecting tears. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You go around collecting tears. I guess there's kind of a challenge to it because if you're like in between each tier, you have 90 seconds, which isn't really that hard itself, but it's a thing that happens. So yeah, also don't step in waking water, otherwise you'll awaken. Just yeah, kind of just run around and collect life tears. This is kind of hard to commentate on this because nothing really happens. I like kind of like just standard stuff like don't fall in the waking water, don't get caught by the watchers, stuff like that really. And also, I will mention in the Silent Realm you have pretty much one hit. If you get hit by the Guardians once, you are dead. You can go right back to the start of the Silent Realm, and that's very annoying because no one likes that. So yeah. Essentially, again, there's kind of not much to say in this section except like in Farron, you would usually want to kind of go around in a I believe anti-clockwise way, roughly. But it doesn't really matter which way you go, I guess. So yeah, it looks like 64-bit Link is... I believe he's just doing the Lineru. He's just doing the Lineru Light Pillar RBM. So he's pretty far behind Deesh at this point. He's gonna have to like really pick up the pace if it's even possible for him to kind of catch up at this point. But yeah, again, for the most part, I will be commentating on Deesh because he's the one that's ahead. He's the one that's ahead. And if anyone has any questions, you can ask me in the chat. Oh, life fruits. That's another thing I wanted to mention about Silent Realms. There are these like dotted things called life fruits. I believe Deesh is skipping the life fruits essentially, which means that yeah, it means he's like skipping the life fruits. I don't really think I need to explain it more. This skipping all the life fruits is pretty easy to do in Farron because it saves like I think 5 seconds overall if you do it over the course of Eldin and Farron. But it's pretty easy to bump into one, especially in the Eldin trial. So some people don't go for it. I do go for it. I believe Deesh is also going for it, but some people don't. So yeah, we have the Water Dragon scale, and again, the only reason you Cistern, the only reason why you do Ancient Cistern is the only reason why I have to imprison 2, and just great wall of dependencies and stuff. Does Skeletor have any long cutscenes that can't be avoided during the run? Not really. All of the long cutscenes are usually skipped. I think probably the longest cutscene I can think of is Skuldera, like him dying. I believe that's about 30-40 seconds of like uninterrupted cutscenes. I guess there are kind of like cutscenes like with like text boxes. 64-bit's confused. Anyway, I guess there were kind of a lot of cutscenes. They like can. I'm just trying to think of like any text box cutscenes. There's a text box cutscene with Batro in Back in Time, which is it's kind of unavoidable, but yeah. Yeah, I know in like some 3D Zelda games there are like huge parts of the run where you don't do anything, but in Skyward Sword that's not really what happens. Because a lot of the long cutscenes you're able to skip with hero mode. But yeah, I think the longest time without any input is 40 seconds, I think. It used to be 50 seconds, I believe it's 40 seconds now. Or 30, around that. I should probably be explaining what's happening on Deesh's screen, actually. So basically, he's doing, oh god, where do I start with that? Well, so much to explain. Yeah, 64-bit Link did just fail the linear RBM. So basically what Deesh is going to do for this next section is he's going to do Farron and Eldin side by side. So he's going to be doing Fire Sanctuary and Ancient System side by side. Essentially, in Eldin, we're basically going to be doing reverse bit magic a lot. And opening, and the only reason why we're able to do this, excuse me, yeah, the only reason why we're able to do this is, and not need to go to Lineru is so that we can like open the Eldin trial really early. And we can do that by getting a reward from Petro in Back in Time. And what that does, and what that kind of corresponds to on Eldin, is shut up, Cher. Is the Eldin trial opening. So there's that, which in order to get that reward, you need to have 5 gratitude crystals, and we can pick that up in Back in Time as Deesh just did. So now he's got 5 gratitude crystals without having to actually get 5 gratitude crystals. Hold on, wait. Just trying to like get some room in my chest. It doesn't like squeak so much. Anyway, so now he's going to be doing RBM where he actually skips like pretty much sand ship and all that stuff by kind of making the the Elden trial appear. So basically what he's going to do, I believe he's going to run into this stamina fruit with file 1, which is kind of just general optimization because it, like, as we got the scale, we can go through like this part, like as he's just showing, is just kind of just swim past this bit, which is kind of nice optimization. He examined file he examined the statue with file 3, which opens the gate, opens the shed, I mean. So what that kind of does is he can now basically enter Betrayed House, and because he's got 5 Gradu crystals, he's able to get a 5 Gradu crystal reward, and that's exactly what he needs to open the Elden Trial, essentially. 64-bit Link, I believe, is just doing the he's just setting the Betray quest. So he's pretty far behind, but anyway. So yeah, now he's done it, and but we still need to commit the commit the bit to memory. So he's going to essentially die and not activate back in time. I've done this way too many times when I've died, and because there aren't very many death swaps anymore, I just instinctively just activate back in time, and I lose a lot of time. So yeah, so that's just a regular just death. So no back in time, and what that does is that now he's the Elden Trial, and a Din Silent Run, as it's known as in I guess the English bit. And again, what this does is that it skips having to do the Leneru trial, sand chip, and all that junk. Essentially, and voice break, right? So yeah, this is essentially just the same as the Farron trial, just an Elden. And also, you'll notice that there are significantly many more life routes, so it's significantly more harder to dodge them. It's not impossible; it's just harder, I guess. So yeah, again, there isn't really much back, like how well he's doing. So yeah, again, if anyone has like any questions in the chat, I'll be able to answer them, or I'll try to answer them at least. So yeah, okay, so Deesh did get caught by a Watcher, which means that the Guardians, but that's a big issue here because it looks like the tier is quite far away, but it really isn't that bad because there's like this guy that isn't really quick, so you just have to kind of walk away from him. There used to be in the old 80% run, there used to be a really like intense moment where you'd like purposefully land on the Waking Water in like the Skyward trial, but as we skip that, that's no longer a thing. Which is actually pretty sad because I actually kind of like that trial, if I'm being honest. But yeah, we just skip it now. So yeah. Again, not much is happening. Just kind of Deesh is kind of just going through the he's going through the Elden trial, and the 64 bits is just going through the what's it called? He's just getting the heart pretty much in the same way Deesh did a while ago. I guess 64 bit isn't that far behind Deesh, but he's not exactly on his toes. So there's that. I guess. So yeah, also this specific rope is pretty annoying if I'm being entirely honest, but it's not too difficult to, I guess, manage. So yeah, 64-bit has now got the harp, and I guess the harp is kind of like the signification of like you're halfway through the run. So it's kind of a good indication of what you're finding. But yeah, and I don't think he got the cutscene skip. Or like the 2-frame hide hop, the 2-frame side hop before the cutscene. Anyway, so I guess now he's gonna like kill himself. Well, and yeah, Deesh is just doing the side now. Again, there's not much to say. Okay, so yeah, and I guess Deesh. I didn't actually know if I think Deesh was attempting to do no life trees, no life fruits. So I mean, yeah, no, yeah, I think he was going to attempt no life fruits, but he's even if he has, he's kind of failed because there's no cutscene now when he runs into those things. Yeah, back in time itself is not actually that difficult to activate, but it's pretty some of the things can be pretty challenging if you don't know what you're doing. And it's also it's very confusing as well. Like it took me at least like 6 months to get used to it. You're saving me through it, okay, yeah. So like I don't think I actually noticed you getting the cutscene, I don't know. I think I was like too busy looking at 64-bit. Anyway, so that's him done, and the reward he gets is the fire shield earrings. I guess you probably could skip these if you were able to skip a kind of a barrier. It's not really a barrier. It's more like kind of a trigger of fire saying, "Yo, this is too hot to go back." But because that kind of quote unquote barrier extends so much, you can't there is no way you can get over it. So the only way to get past it is by getting the fire shielding earrings, which is exactly what Deesh has done. So yeah, he's done that, I guess. And 64-bit Link is literally just doing the Pharaoh RBMs. I don't know if he's on the Ballad of the Goddess one or Song of the Hero skip, but he's on one of them, that's for sure. Yeah, so what Deesh is doing here is he's simultaneously going down 2 hearts because he is probably going to want to die pretty soon to in order to do 2 back in times back to back pretty much. I said the word back a lot of times in that sentence. So yeah, he's gonna save here because that's pretty just I don't actually know why he just saves there because that's useful, I don't know. And yeah, he dies. So there are kind of 2 back in times. You're doing the reverse bit magics. And for those of you who are new here, reverse bit magic is essentially where you do something in back in time that corresponds with doing something on a file. So for example, if you push down like a grave, you open like a shed in back in time, that might, for example, open the Earth Temple on file 1, for example, which I think is one of the examples that's used. So essentially what he's going to do is he's going to do what he did previously. So he's going to bit save file 3, which is to kind of get the cutscene to be in back in time. And he's going to start file 1 and run into the cutscene, and what this does is it basically makes the second frog hydrated. There'll be some frogs you'll see later, and I think the second one will be hydrated, as you'll see, because of that bit. And in order to commit the bit to memory, he's just walked outside and walked back in. It's not that difficult. So that's the easy one. now we've got the lumpy pump and dive, which is a lot of people don't like just because of how difficult it is. This is probably and it is probably one of the more, if not probably the most difficult back in time to do. Just because of how hard it is to skydive in this game, because of like motion controls. But anyway, so essentially how this works is Deesh will activate Farron back in time. He'll also, and then he'll immediately go back up to the sky and fly as high as he can and dive to the, basically skydive to the Lumpy Pumpkin. And if everything goes well, he'll reach the Lumpy Pumpkin, essentially. And the reason why he needs to reach the Lumpy Pumpkin is to get a specific gratitude crystal, which will, which corresponds to lowering the flames to the fire sanctuary in, I guess in Volcano Summit. Or in Eldin, I don't know, in that area, basically. So he's just entering, I guess, Farron back in time. Again, via, like, bit saving File 2 and jumping off. And, like, calling his bird with File 2, so... Yeah, just... That's the thing, I guess. So I believe 64-bit right now is just doing Song of the Hero skip, otherwise known as 7x04, because that's a specific bit in memory that you change. But I guess you can just call it Song of the Hero skip, which is a much better and more understanding name, because you skip with the Song of the Hero. Pretty much. So yeah, again, not really too much to say right now. I'll have a lot, like, give it like 10 seconds, I'll have a lot to say, so just bear with me, I guess. Okay, so now Deesh has just entered Farron, so the only reason that he's going to do this is to basically go right back up again, so that he can kind of enter the sky quote-unquote properly, or like be close to the Lumpy Pumpkin. Either way, this is necessary to get to the Lumpy Pumpkin in the first place. So as soon as this kind of cutscene starts, he presses the A button in order for him to, and the reason why you want to do that is to be able to dive off your Lothring. So now here's kind of the fun bit. So he's going to pretty much fly as high as he pretty much can. I think he's like just trying to look for the Lumpy Pumpkin. It's very difficult to see it because it kind of looks like all the other rocks, but I think if you look at it like for a long enough time, you'll kind of just recognize that it actually does look slightly different. And then he jumps off pretty much. And yeah, he basically jumps off his Lothring, and yeah, pretty much. He doesn't want to stay on the splash screen for too long, otherwise he's gonna like activate a cutscene which will stop back in time forever. Will stop back in time, so that's he doesn't really want to do that. Yeah, Deesh, if I were you, I'd yeah, okay, good. I was getting a bit worried that he's staying alive for too long, but he's fine. Yeah, Deesh gets it first try, which is pretty good. So yeah. Also, yeah, don't start file 1, that would be awful. So yeah, he and the reason why that works is because the he was technically still in the bounds of the tutorial, but those bounds are only constrained on the Lothring, not Link himself, so he can like skydive to places like the Lumpy Pumpkin. And again, the only reason why we actually need to get here is to get the specific gratitude crystal, which corresponds to lowering the flames to Fire Sanctuary in Fire 1, pretty much, or just in Eldin, or just in general that place. And just don't fall over, please. And yeah, he and again he gets it, like he starts File 1 and runs into it, which essentially activates that bit to memory, and he commits it by bumping into this rock right here. Oh, she hasn't done it yet. Yeah, there we go. So now he's committed that to memory, and whilst he's here, he gets water. It's very important you get water here, because if you enter into that loading zone and the flames are, you walk back out and you walk back in, the flames will be up, because the game realized, hey, this huge frog isn't hydrated, so the flames shouldn't be up right now, and so that's kind of the thing. Anyway, so now we hit this. My chair is the most squeakiest thing ever, I swear to God. So 64-bit Link is just doing hard cancel, or just he might attempt to. I don't know if he's attempting to or anything. He's at least at that point, at least. Excuse me. And so yeah, this is kind of why we need the bottle to hide. The one in the what's it called? The one in the foreground that you saw, or one in background, I mean, he's already hydrated because of the back in time we did. And even though, even though this frog is not hydrated, because we did the Lumpy Pumpkin dive RBM, the flames are down, so we can just walk straight into Fire Sanctuary and we'll be fine. Essentially. And so yeah, now we're into Fire Sanctuary. Okay, so now this dungeon is essentially 90% just reverse bit magic. It can be pretty hard to keep track of, but it's kind of, yeah, it's pretty hard to keep track of, that's what I'm saying. So he activates back in time, he's going to do this a lot. So I believe there are 4 reverse bit magics that he's going to do in total. 3 of which he's going to do right now, then go to Ancient System. And then he's going to go back here once he's finished Ancient System to do 1 more. So the first one he's going to do is, I believe, he bumps into this with file 2. And there are kind of different orders that you do this in. I do this in different orders. Him, I do the lower academy, then the upper academy, then the crystal, but that's weird. Anyway, but what he's going to do is he's going to start file 1 and examine the upper academy statue. And he's going to commit the bit to memory by exposing a hidden rupee, that is actually a pretty hard shot to make, if I'm being entirely honest. It seems that 64-bit Link has stopped. I don't know if he's quit or not, but he's stopped. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, he hasn't quit. Okay, so I'm assuming he's just doing something. I don't really know. It's probably not important. Okay, so the second bit that Deesh is gonna do is he's gonna start file 1 and examine the lower statue, and he's going to yeah. So in order to commit that, he's yeah, he probably took a bathroom or bathroom break. I don't know. I say bathroom because I'm British. I'm weird. Anyway, yeah, probably had to go to like that. Anyway, he essentially anyway, what Deesh did is he committed the bit to memory by. Shut up! That's like the 4th time it squeaked. Like, shut up. Yeah, okay, so he took like a bathroom break. Okay, now that makes sense. So yeah, I need to like actually say what I'm going to say. Deesh essentially committed the bit to memory by shooting that waterboard down. There we go. That took way too long to say. Anyway, so now the third one he's going to do is collecting a specific gratitude crystal in this house by making it night time by sleeping. And then see this gratitude crystal, start file 1 and run into the gratitude crystal. And yeah, and I don't think you actually need to I don't think you actually need to commit this one. This one kind of already commits to your inventory as like a gratitude crystal. So now he's gonna collect this fairy, not because it's safety, but because he actually needs it for the next RBM. Pretty much. And the next IBM he's going to do is, it's not going to be a reverse bit of magic, it's going to be a reverse bit of warp. So, I'm assuming you know what a reverse bit warp is, or what a bit warp is. Bit warp is essentially where you take back in time coordinates and you apply them to the map on your file. A reverse bit warp is where you take the coordinates from your file and apply them to the back in time map that you start on. So that might be a little bit confusing, but I'll try and explain it. So you saw Deesh try and get in like a specific just kind of get that into it, yeah. How come both runners seem to be very far apart? The simple answer to that is because both of them are pretty, I guess, varied in skill level. Deesh, I think Deesh's PB is about a 240, 238, and 64-bit Link's is about, looking at his splits, is a 423, but that seems really low. Because, especially considering that he doesn't look to be on pace for a 450. He looks to be at least on pace for like a 3 something. But that's just because of how the kind of tournament bracket seeding has worked. It's kind of pair these two people together, I guess. I think they're like seed is, yeah, 7 and 10. I think Deesh is seed 7 and 64-bit is seed 10, and these seedings were done based on PB, I think, on the 27th of January. But yeah. What was I explaining about? I was explaining what reverse bit warp was, yeah. So anyway, Deesh was doing like this kind of weird setup when he was in Fire Sanctuary to to kind of get in the right coordinates, because these coordinates are going to be very, very precise. 64-bit Link got a gold split with bathroom break, nice. Anyway, so now he's essentially what Deesh is going to do is he's going to activate Farron back in time, which is essentially where he's just going to Farron and back in time. Yeah, I think Deesh says it's best. Like, Deesh has been running this game for about a year. 64-bit Link literally just started running like a month ago. And probably not even that, actually. Anyway, so essentially what this reverse bit warp is doing is essentially it's where actually, right, before I say anything, I just want to like post the bracket to the chat, because why not? Anyway, so basically the whole kind of point of this RBW is like Deesh has to kind of like make his way into kind of the loading zone into Ancient System, which is the dungeon he's trying to warp into, and when he's there, he's going to start file 1 at a pretty precise time. There is an audio cue for this, which I'll explain as he's there. And what that should do is, regarding his coordinates are right, so they should warp him like right into it should warp him into what's it called? Ancient System, like into like the basement of Ancient System, which should allow him to get the boss key early or something like that. So he enters like Floria with file 3, which is very useful. What is 64-bit Link doing? I'm just gonna say that right. What's he doing? If I'm being entirely honest, it looks like he's doing a kind of Skyview second route, I guess. Like he's like, yeah, like a Skyview 2 route. Like no one ever does, by the way. I'm just saying. Anyway, so Deesh is at this point. He's like so, and I think Deesh is going to be listening out for when the waterfall kind of stops. So he starts file 1 as soon as that happens, and regarding his coordinates were right, he should land. Yeah, he lands into pretty much inbounds into the basement. I think 64-bit is getting the sacred water. Like that's the only reason why you would do Skyview 2. In these, he's doing the RBW from Skyview. I've never seen this actually, because usually no one ever does this. But anyway, because I'm just clueless about the specific route as anyone is, if I'm being entirely honest. So I'm gonna mostly focus on Deesh because he's the one who I know who's like he's doing the route that I know best, to be honest. So anyway, so but essentially what Deesh is doing, because he did that reverse bit warp into the basement, he's now essentially he's essentially got the what's it called? I can't think. I don't. We've got like mind block. He's got the boss key. That was what it's called. Also, there was the mini boss of the dungeon. He doesn't have to fight. I think. Yeah. Pretty much thing. So now this statue's here. He's able to do a high flip up to here, which is essentially just a frame perfect flip. You'd side hop and then you'd, yeah, in a frame perfect way, you'd backflip. Now, and it's really easy to time because it's like, regarding you're really good with side hops and backflips, not that difficult. And by doing that, you like pretty much backflip really high, and essentially you go up to the statue's toes and stuff. Best boss fight. I think if you win Coloctos, yeah, Coloctos is pretty cool. So yeah, Coloctos was really good, and I never actually realized that statue was there until just recently, being entirely honest. So I need to use that for like safety saving, because that's a really good statue to safety save at. Ooh, Deesh, don't do that. Okay, now he's on 2 hearts, so now that's very difficult. Ancient Assistant is very difficult on 2 hearts. You do have to be very careful of that. Anyway, so now we've got the boss key on Deesh's side at least. Okay, Demise is the best boss. I have to agree with that. Demise is very good. Anyway, so now we got the boss key. We do have to do a few more things in this dungeon. Most notably, you have to get the key. I have to get the small key from basically from where Deesh is going right now, past the stupid spiders. In fact, I hate these. This sounds weird, but I hate these enemies so much. I've actually got an emote for them. So yay. Anyway, imprisoned. No one likes imprisoned. I swear to God. Yeah. Like I've never heard anyone say that makes sense. Stupid hard. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, so Deesh having a little bit of problem with the water section. Deesh, please don't die. Please do not die right now. I don't think you'd really count Demise as an imprisoned fight, but I mean, I guess you could because Demise, but depends. So yeah, Deesh is dying here, which is very interesting. Like, I've never really seen this. I don't even know if it's quicker to die here than to okay, I guess it would be if you're at 2 hearts, so that makes sense. So yeah, pretty much. So now he's got the small key. Now the reason why I need to get the small key was to get the whip. And with the whip, you can essentially just complete the dungeon, I guess. But no, in my opinion, Demise is like the best fight of the game because it just feels really cool when you get it right, especially. Okay, so yeah, okay, so basically what. Yeah, I think 64-bit Link is doing a little bit of a weird. I guess like RBW instead of doing it from Sanctuary, Guy V2, which I think is better. It's like a less precise one than the one in Fire Sanctuary, so it's kind of also nice. They're both on the exact same frame when it comes to opening the chest, which is quite funny. Yeah, timing was just great on that. So yeah, yeah, so like 64-bit, he's like, I think he's doing Ancient Assistant, then he's doing Fire Sanctuary, which is a bit weird. It's not weird, it's just like a different route, I guess. Yes, Deesh, that was very nice. Anyway, so now Deesh has basically got the whip and the boss key. He can essentially just complete this dungeon outright. Because that's all you need. You just need the whip and the boss key, and then you're done with this. with this dungeon essentially. I think 64-bit Link is just attempting the high flip. He's not doing it right. I'll say that right now. I think his camera has to be a little bit towards the left. Also, cursed zombies, which are very annoying because they're very hard to kill. So yeah. So even if you could somehow make it into the boss room, you still need to actually defeat Coloctus with the whip. Like, it's impossible to beat Coloctus without the whip. Yeah, okay, so 64-bit Link gained the So and that's kind of a bit weird because the whip is like only ever used and it's like never used again unless if you're in Skykeep, and we completely skipped Skykeep, so we really just never use the whip outside of Ancient System, pretty much. So yeah, Girahim was a bit angry that we skipped him, so he can't really be bothered to fight us just right. Also, he's getting these kind big machines such as like Coloctos and now, I think this is probably one of the shorter fights of the run. And, well, yeah, I think, first phase you can kind of skip by whipping his chest, and what that will do is that'll make Clocktoast do a specific attack, which will give you time to, whip out 2 bombs and just, do so much damage that you completely skip the rest of phase 1. Phase 2, basically how it works, everything's fine until you've, okay, but so basically what happens in phase 2 is that he gains a pair of legs, and he like kind of protects his what's it called? Yeah, both are on hero mode, yeah. So yeah, he protects his like heart, and essentially what that does, so basically what he has to do right now, let's hold on, yeah. Where's I'm just having some like technical issues with. Actually, I'm fine now. Anyway, so essentially what you saw Deesh do is he like kind of cut down his legs, like ripped off an arm so he got a sword. He cut off his legs, and then he kind of ripped open his cage. But what he did instead of like use the sword to wash it, he used 2 Skyward Strikes, and because it's so powerful, he just ended the fight immediately. Yes, Skyward Strike is very OP in hero mode at least. So yeah, that was Coloctos. It was again probably one of the shorter boss fights of the run. Now it used to be one of the longer ones, but now it just isn't. Yeah, and no one really knows why it's specifically OP in hero mode. It just kind of is, which is cool. I'm not complaining at all. And actually, yeah, this route, because the way you can skip cutscenes in this game allows us to skip a soft lock. Like if you couldn't skip, cutscenes, we'd at some point get into a soft lock, which I'll point out at some point, but not right now because I can't be bothered. Anyway, so that's Ancient System on Deesh's side. It might look like that they're both kind of neck and neck, at least closer than they actually were, but really, it's kind of 64-bit Link has still got the whole of Fire Sanctuary to do, and whilst Deesh has kind of finished most of Fire Sanctuary, it's just that he's kind of done it at a different point. So yeah, pretty much. Deesh is just gonna like fly back, and I'm just gonna say 64-bit Link died. I don't know if that was intentional, but he did it anyway. So anyway, so Deesh is just gonna fly back to Eldin, and it does look like his death was intentional, I guess. So yeah, that was the thing. So yeah, again, kind of 64-bit Link. He's got the small key and I believe he's also got the what's it called, boss key. So once he gets the whip, he can basically just run to the boss fight and just complete that. And also, like 64 bits, he's still um he's still got to do the like Shikastone RBM, put Lumpy Pumpkin Dive, and also doing like all those 3 RBMs. That first of all made the this specific statue like something we can go to, despite the fact we've never been, which is pretty cool. So what we're gonna do is, oh, sorry, just yawned. Anyway, so yeah, essentially what we're gonna do, we're gonna do one last RBM. Again, I did say they had to do 4 in total in this dungeon, and I said we had to do 3. Yeah, we did like 3 before Ancient System, and then we do 1 now. And also shout outs to SVA, who currently holds the world record of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 22 seconds, and yeah, that's pretty cool. So this RBM, I think it's the shortest reverse. I think it's the shortest back in time in general. I think he literally and what Deesh is gonna do is he's literally just gonna like walk down to here, and he's going to start the file and examine the bizarre statue. And what that does, I believe it makes the iron gates for the boss key kind of like stay up, I guess, if that makes sense. It basically makes the boss key able to get without the Mogma Mitts, so you basically skip the Mogma Mitts, which means you can get the boss key pretty much now. He also used Whip Strand. Don't know why, but he just did. And if everything went to plan, which I believe it did, he should be able to just walk in and get the boss key. So now what the game would want you to do is just to like get the Mogma Mitts, go like all the way around normal way. We can just skip that with like reverse bit magic. And I did say that the keys kind of got harder, and you'll see that this is actually a pretty hard one to do, especially if you're just running the game casually. But because we're like speedrunners, we just know what they are anyway, I guess. So yeah, that was that, and so you didn't really miss much. You just kind of just missed. Basically, what happened is Deesh went from Ancient System to Fire Sanctuary because he was doing both Ancient System and Fire Sanctuary at like the same time. So yeah, that was that pretty much. So now here's Girahim 2. He was pretty annoyed that we skipped him the first, so he's back again. And don't worry, we will actually fight him this time. The first phase is just kind of this, just spin attacking him when he was like darts. Not really hard to explain. The second phase is when he's got these swords, and he does a mixture of attacks, and you want him to do as many like those attacks where you can attack him as much as possible. And what you don't want him to do is you don't want him to do either darts because you can't attack him, or a ground pound because my chair is so. Anyway, yeah, you don't want him to do a ground pound because it's so slow, and you don't want to do darts because you can't attack him. And so this fight is moderately RNG. It's not huge. It's kind of like most fights are about average. You'll get some fights that are really slow, and you get some fights that are really quick. But on average, most of them are about the same length and time. What's trigger the first door? What trigger the first door is if you is the Sheikah Stone cutscene essentially. So like if you pressed file, if you started file 1 and you ran into the Sheikah Stone cutscene, you would essentially skip Girahim 1. But in order to do that specific glitch, you had to bit save either file 2 or file 3 depending on which route you're doing. Anyway, so that was Girahim 2. So yeah, he was I think that was a pretty good fight from Deesh. It wasn't. I think it was about average. It was bad. Okay. He did get a few darts and a few ground pounds. It wasn't amazing, but it is what I'd call about like average. I guess if you're like being really pessimistic for like average to bad, but it wasn't that bad. I've seen worse. I'll say that much. I have seen much worse fights, at least from. So yeah, so essentially that's Fire Sanctuary done, and after Fire Sanctuary, we'll essentially be closing in on the ending of the game, where he'll do the Imprison 2, then the Horde, then Girahim 3, and then the final fight, which is Demise. All pretty much back to back. So yeah, pretty much. Also, yeah, Deesh is gonna save. That's very important because if you didn't save, you kind of have to do all that again. And I have had many instances where I've done that. So don't do what I did. Please, please save at that point. Just please save. And so yeah, Deesh is gonna die. It's because he's going to do the Imprison 2 RBM, which is essentially where he goes into Farron and back in time and activates the Imprison 2 fight in back in time. Just yawned. So yeah, this is kind of. I think this is the last RBM, which was the last back in time. It's kind of. It's not hard to explain, but it's not easy to explain either. It's kind of just. Okay, I guess it is pretty easy to explain if I'm being honest. So you essentially just bit saves file 2. Stuff and and what that does is that for any new runners, well not new viewers I mean, sorry. What that does is that spawns the Loftwing in back in time. So all he has to do is just run off this like I don't actually know what they're called, but it's just run off the island and just call his Loftwing. And just I guess go into back in time. I go into Farron in back in time. Deesh's route is I think both runners' routes are impossible in normal mode because there's a specific cutscene that if you can't skip, you soft lock, and because you have hero mode, you can skip the cutscene and therefore skip the soft lock. I will point out when that happens. But yes, essentially, yeah, on like hero mode, you're able to skip the soft lock via the ability to skip cutscenes. So again, Deesh is going to enter Farron with 3. And then I believe what he's going to do is save file 1 to this statue. That's not that. It's kind of it's something that's way more. Again, I'll mention when the soft. I guess the Thunderhead cutscene is that's just a soft lock no matter what you do if you're in normal mode or hero mode. Deesh having a bit of trouble with the Deku brothers. But yeah, I think yes, I think and Deesh crashes. I guess I think that's crashing, or that might just be bad internet. One or two. That looks like he's crashed. Yeah, he crashed. Okay. Oof. Yeah. So the cutscene that's like it's the cutscene that starts the Horde fight. It's because we skip Skykeep. The when you like enter the Horde fight, the layer for Hylia's realm is completely wrong. So or the layer for the cutscene is completely wrong. So it just doesn't start. And you're basically able to skip it essentially. Deesh didn't actually lose much time, I don't think. He just because he saved just after Fire Sanctuary, he can pick up pretty much where he left off. So he's not in like a bad situation. He's just in a not great situation because he did lose about like 1 or 2 minutes of time. But yeah, actually no, he didn't because he bit saved. So ignore exactly. Dumb. He didn't actually lose much time. He still lost about a minute because he had to like do stuff with his like he had to like turn on his like Wii again and just do stupid stuff. But no. But basically, what happens with that that's true. He did like at least didn't like lose like 15 minutes. But like how this reverse how this RBA would, and usually like Granny would like talk a bit, and then you'd like raise your Skyward sword. You'd like raise your swords in the air as like Deesh will do, and then the Imprisoned 2 fight will start in bit pretty much. And yeah, and then you usually like press and then you usually start file 1 at a specific time. So yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like the thing was like with the Gate of Time is because it's a story flag. The only way to activate the Gate of Time in Back in Time is by actually like activating the Gate of Time in Back in Time. So it's pretty difficult to do in Back in Time, so it's a bit like dumb. I think Gymnast Day 6 made a video on the why the Gate of Time is such like an annoying thing that you can't skip. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So now Deesh is doing Imprisoned 2. I think 64-bit Link is just he's doing the betrothal like reward. He's basically unlocking the Din Silent Realm, I think. But anyway, so here's Imprisoned 2. It's really dumb, and not me. Okay, so now he's on 3 hearts, which shouldn't be an issue on Imprisoned 2 because you don't really lose much. Like it's kind of hard to die on Imprisoned 2 unless you feel like really bad with full damage. But essentially, how it goes is Imprisoned 2 is you get on his head, which is what he does, and this very specific jump slash, which Deesh gets pretty well. And you have to do this twice. One in a pretty good position, and the second one, which he's going to do here, in a really difficult position. Yeah, this like jump slash, it's very difficult, and yeah, Deesh misses it. And what's annoying about this is that if you miss one, especially if you miss the second one, I think you have to use the Gruesinator, otherwise, you're kind of in a sticky situation there. And also, you do not want to use it possible because of how much like text there is here, especially on English. So yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he used the Gruesinator to just kind of like get him up, I guess. So really, all he has to do right now, because he has knocked his seal into his head like twice, he only has to just like do it one more time. Doing it a third time is a little bit challenging, but it's not horribly difficult, I guess. Okay, it's pretty difficult, I will not lie about that, but it's not horrible. The Japanese version does not have any exclusive version glitch game. However, the English NTSC 1.0 version does have an exclusive glitch, which is I think is known as System Clip, which is essentially like where you clip into there's a part of like Ancient System where you can like clip into the floor and you can like pretty much skip the whole of like the like ground part pretty much. Yeah, but the Japanese version doesn't have any exclusive glitches because the NTSC one came out before the Japanese one did. The only reason why Japanese is quicker is because the text speed is like incredibly quick. So most runners often want to get a Japanese copy as soon as possible. So yeah, that was the Imprisoned fight done. It wasn't great Imprisoned fight. Like optimally, you'd get the 2 jump slashes and then you just like you basically just put that seal in his head like 3 times in a row, which would be it's pretty difficult. It's a pretty difficult fight. So yeah, 64-bit Link is kind of having a bit of trouble with what's it called? The Din Silent Realm or the Elden Silent Realm. Yeah. That is, if you get caught in the wrong place, that is a pretty horrible. That is a pretty horrible. What was I going to say? Yeah, that is a pretty horrible Silent Realm. I can't speak for the life of me. So yeah, now Deesh has now completed the imprisoned. He's literally just onto the ending, and the ending pretty much consists of like 3 boss fights. There's the Horde, Girahim 3, and he's 64-bit is caught again, so this could be very challenging for him. He's just gonna have to run up as quickly as possible, hope for the best. Okay, he gets it. He's nice, yeah. Anyway, so the ending is kind of 3 boss fights. It's the Horde, the Girahim 3, and Demise. Yeah, both routes skip Song of the Hero. Yeah, I think in any percent, you would never get a route that didn't skip Song of the Hero in any percent. At least in like modern times, unless if someone like finds a way to like completely change the face of any percent, and like the goal suddenly becomes complete Skykeep as much as possible, or as quickly as possible. Actually, no, even then, Song of the Hero skip would still be a thing, because you just like, because I think Song of the Hero skip is technically still a thing in all dungeons. It's just in like a different way. Anyway, so yeah, Song of the Hero skip is in both routes. Yeah. So essentially, then like the first like boss fight of the ending is the Horde. The runners will be attempting Horde skip, which is basically a trick where it's like halfway through, or about like 2/5 of the way down, you can like, there's an opportunity where you can like run up a mob shield, and you can like skip an entire spiral of the yeah, running up the shield thing. Yeah, that's the Horde skip. It's very difficult, but it's runners still do it anyway, because it's like, it's really worth it, because you save like 2 minutes if you do it. So yeah, so what Deesh is doing is he's gone to the past. He's got the Master Sword. He's gonna heal up. I believe he does have a fairy, so if things go really bad, he can still just use that. And you don't have to just be quick. It's more about your to be very good. It's not necessarily that has to be quick. With your timing with Horde skip, it's kind of just yeah, and also the setup matters a lot. Anyway, so the cutscene that Deesh just skipped, that's the soft lock that you can't get by on normal mode. On hero mode, because we skipped it, we just skipped the soft lock, but on normal mode you would soft lock right there. But anyway, so now here's the Horde, and because and we're able to even get here because the Song of the Hero skip worked, and again that skips Leviast, Bokoblin Base, Tad Tones, what else? The Minecart Escort, Skykeep. It skips so much of this game. I don't think emulators are allowed. Might be wrong, but I do. Actually, yeah, I think that like emulators aren't allowed, USB loaders aren't allowed, just anything. Just like get with your Wii or Wii U, and just get like a physical hard copy of the disc. That would definitely be allowed. But yeah, like, emulator wouldn't be allowed. So here's Horde skip, and he gets it. Yeah, nice. It does look like he's on 1 heart, but he does have a fairy, so that's nice. Okay, so like so yeah, that's that Horde skip pretty much like 2 minutes when you get it. Or if you lose it, you like lose 2 minutes. Okay, Deesh, please don't die. Okay, now he's on 2 hearts. This is bad. Okay, it's not horrible. Just if Deesh gets hit now, he's gonna have to do the horde again. Not great. So he's just gonna have to not get hit, and then he's good, pretty much. So yeah. Okay, so yeah. So Deesh is now done with like 4 fights. Now he's on to Ghirahim 3. Yeah, you fight this guy 3 times. That's a bit repetitive, but it's still something that happens anyway. So the first phase of this is literally just you just like knock him down from this. He does start to like get these purple things, which is very annoying, but it's not horrible anyway. So yeah, okay, so it's yeah, so I think 64-bit Link is just about to do the what's it called? He's about to like go into the volcano or some stuff there. I don't think 64-bit Link will have time to finish actually, because I think I've just had a word that there'll be another restream after this. So yeah. I mean, I guess he could probably still finish in his own stream, but I don't think he could like just finish on the restream at least. But I don't know. I know nothing. I mean, all I know is as soon as Deesh is finished and as soon as he's in there, I'm pretty much off to bed because I'm tired as hell. Anyway, so now here's like the second phase of the fight, where he's like got his sword, but you just spin attack the sword and just stab. You essentially stab him. Also, here's "You wretched brat." I'm not going to attempt saying that in his voice because I suck at it a lot. But yeah. Anyway, so now the third phase is arguably easier than the second phase. He's got this giant sword, and you just... I don't really need to explain. You just spin attack the giant sword, and you find the weakness and just stab him. It's not that hard. So now we have the demise fight. Now I'm mostly going to let the demise fight speak for itself. It's a really awesome fight. And yeah, we'll just... It's an awesome fight, and like I'll just kind of let it speak for itself, and yeah. Okay, so it looks like Deesh dies, and like he did say before like I suck. I think that was spoilers, but yeah, that's the thing with the delay. Okay. So yeah, this fight is pretty much very choreographed. Like there was like no RNG at all in it, and it feels really cool when you... It's not hard, but it's not easy either. It's like kind of in the middle, I guess. So yeah. Okay, that's a very good first phase. Second phase is a little bit harder, but yeah. Too much. Yeah, now he's got a lightning sword. And Deesh finishes with the time of, we'll say eventually. That's regarding he did dot done, which is, yeah, he did. 2:33:52. He has officially won. Yeah, he's officially won this game, and he moves on to the next round. Whilst 64-bit Link moves down to the losers bracket, and will have to fight Indy Kenobi. So Deesh wins that one, and yeah, the bracket has been updated because I'm the one who does all the bracket stuff. So yeah, GG to Deesh.
Hello.
Oh, GG. There might be like a echo on my mic, so I'm just gonna sort something out 1 sec.
Oh no, that's fine. I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. You're fine. Well, I don't know what to say. I mean,
I think that's a PB for you.
yeah, that is a. Let me check real quick.
Good 5 minutes.
438 PB. I was,
Okay.
dude. I'm so mad. I was 537 ahead at Ancient Cistern. My demise split is awful between Imprison 2 and Demise.
I mean, you did get a hold skip, so there's that. But...
I did, but yeah, I died to Demise again.
Alright, so your next round is against Chimera SR.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you know, easy money as usual.
So?
No, that's gonna be that's a genuine challenge because his PB is only 5 minutes better than mine, but he is on Japanese and he's been running this game for nearly as long as I have, so he has a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting run. Do you mind taking over because I do kind of have to go to...
Oh yeah, I don't mind. You go ahead.
So I'm just gonna get out. Yeah, GG to both the runners, and good luck for 64-bit Link to finishing.
Wait,
yeah.
Hold on. Is
Yeah.
the okay? Never mind. I found it. I want to see if it works real quick. Ah, it does. Cool. All right, you're good.
Yeah, bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you, KitKat. Have a good night. So, GG's Deesh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we're going to have to cut the stream early. We have another match that's supposed to be starting, and I guess they already had to push it back.
Okay.
So I guess we'll do a quick host, but I did want to congratulate you. Good luck with your next round.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And also, congratulations on your PB. It's about like 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes?
Yeah, 4.5.
Oh, wow.
It could have been like... It could have been like an 8-minute PB. I could have... Or more, but... I mean, most of the run was pretty good. Hiccups here and there, but very solid throughout.
Okay. So, sorry for the very quick interview.
Oh, it's all right.
But I don't know what time zone you're in, if you want to enjoy the rest of your night. But thank you very much. I'm glad I was able to do the restream. And again, congratulations.
Thank you for doing it.
Okay. So I guess we're going to call... So thank you everyone for joining us. I guess we're going to call it a night. I'm going to do a quickie host for 64-bit Link. But coming up is going to be a Zelda 2 randomizer max rando restream. So hopefully we'll see you then. Good night. Bye. Thank you.